Yo, what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy, aka DFS Dudes, and we're here to present you our NBA morning shoot around for Monday, November 5th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below. This week I watch all my NBA, NFL, and MLB videos. And if you haven't already went and checked out our site, go check it out at dfscheatsheet.com. And we have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily Fanduel and Draftkings cash lineups. We are truly one-stop shop for all your DFS needs, man. So go check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, how you doing out there, Jeremy?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Good little weekend of NFL. Not a bad week of NBA. I think your cash game lineup was pretty hot all week long. So let's kick another week off and let's get to it.
Yeah, definitely. So, real quick before we get into anything, a couple of things. First thing first, I mean, if you guys aren't messing with the optimizer, you're absolutely missing out. I mean, customers were sending in screenshots today. I had one member, he maxed out in a GPP 150 lineups with our optimizer, 146 out of 150 cash. I mean, the optimizer has been on absolute fire. NFL and NBA has been doing very well to start the season as well. Hey, come over here, check it out. Every day you could throw in, even if it's just in the 25 cent, throw 150 lineups in the 25 cent for $37. Give yourself a chance to win $1,000 off 37. You can put our cash lineup in to cover your GPP. Hey, it's called smart betting. That's what you got to do. So, hey, come join us. Check it out. We give you a full format how to bet, how to hedge your bets, etc. The biggest thing about DFS, we always talk about is bankroll management, and you got to make sure that you're doing that day in and day out. So, I mean, I'm ready to get in this slate if you're ready to go, Jeremy.
Let's hop into it.
All right, man. So we got a 9-game slate. It is a little bit early in the night, so there is a couple games that we are waiting on the over-unders for. But yeah, so the first game that we're going to start with is going to be Miami going into Detroit to face the Pistons. This game is one of the games that doesn't have an over and under on it yet. Obviously, we don't have no Vegas lines. We're waiting on a couple pieces of news pretty much on the Miami side of things. Their starting point guard, Goran Dragic, he's a game time decision tomorrow. And then you got Whiteside. Whiteside is a game time decision as well. Dragic he's having a problem with his toe. And then Whiteside, he is, he's having a knee problem as well. So both of those guys are game time decisions. So we're waiting on that. If they are out, also, well, actually, shoot, you got a lot of guys. You got Dwayne Wade. He's a game time decision tomorrow. You also got
Tyler Johnson.
Tyler Johnson's a game. Yeah. So make a long story short, we got a lot of things that we're waiting for on the Miami side of things. Could definitely get some good value. So I'll let you get us started with that Miami side of things, man.
So there's not a lot to really discuss this early with the Miami side of it, obviously, because we're waiting on a bunch of news that you just touched on. Dwayne Wade, game time decision with his head. Tyler Johnson, he came down with an illness. Dragic, he missed Saturday's game. He's got a toe injury. And then James Johnson obviously hasn't played yet this season, so he's not in the mix. But, Hassan Whiteside, game time decision with a knee injury. So they're on the road. Let's figure out what the news is in the morning. Obviously, we could cover some value plays if these guys don't play. If Whiteside doesn't play, Bam becomes pretty much a cash game lock for a punt play, I believe, at $3,800 moving into a starting center position. Obviously, he's perfect in tournaments as well. Josh Richardson, he becomes a very good play if Dragic doesn't play. We know Richardson, he does handle the basketball and play some point guard. 37 minutes, 32 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 45 FanDuel points on Saturday without Goran Dragic in the lineup. And then Rodney Magruder is another guy. And then, Magruder's been doing very well all season long. He played 34 minutes, 18 points, 29 FanDuel points on Saturday without Dragic. So, this is really a wait and see. I could see a Wayne Ellington also being a really good pump play. If, let's say, Tyler Johnson, Goran Dragic are both out, then, Wayne Ellington could be a guy that moves in that shooting guard role. Rodney Magruder could look to play the small forward position, and Josh Richardson would be their kind of default point guard. So wait and see, but that's kind of where we're at with that.
Yeah, so I mean, on the Detroit side of things, I mean, there's not really too many things that excite me. First thing first, obviously, you got to look at Blake Griffin. He's still under 10,000. They're using this guy like a guard. I don't know if you've watched him play this at all this year, but this dude is just handling the ball a ton. He's taking 3-pointers. We know he can get to the rack. I think that he's a very fair price tag, so I like Blake Griffin tomorrow. And then you can look at Andre Drummond. I like Drummond even more if Whiteside is out tomorrow. I don't think Bam can handle Drummond. Whiteside's a little bit more of a challenge, so that's something that we got to kind of wait on for tomorrow. I think those two guys are the obvious two plays on the Detroit side of things. There's not really nobody else I'm not going to look that I'm going to look at. I'm not going to sit here and really talk about Ish Smith or Reggie Jackson. I'm not going to play either guy. So for me, it's just Griffin and it's Drummond are really the only two guys I'm looking at on the Detroit side of things. Did I miss anybody? Are you ready to roll?
No, Detroit's not very deep really for fantasy. I mean, you can look at a couple of guys there. You mentioned them, and then you kind of move on.
Right. So I'm ready to move on. The next game that we're going to look at, it's going to be the Houston Rockets going into Indiana to face the Pacers. This game has a 213.5 implied total, and Indiana is actually favored by 1 at home in this game. Get us started with that Houston side.
So Eric Gordon ruled out. I don't know how much fantasy value he really has at $5,200 with James Harden back, but he has been ruled out. That does open up some rotational minutes for other guys. James Ennis, $3,800. James Ennis comes back 19 minutes and 17 minutes in back-to-back games, only 6.2 points against Brooklyn, but had a very solid outing against Chicago with 26.7 fantasy points. He's kind of the rotational fill-in, I think, without Eric Gordon. You got to keep mentioning PJ Tucker with the minutes he's accumulating. This guy's just playing a lot of minutes. He's playing 30 minutes a game. He's kind of I won't say kind of, he is a tournament play, but this guy, for $4,800, he's giving you 30 minutes on any given night. He can get you 35 fantasy points. So solid tournament play, especially against a front court there that's not very deep. They've really got Sabonis, Thaddeus Young not having a very good year. He's had a couple of good games, I understand, but Thaddeus Young's not really he's pretty much 20 fantasy points every single game except for one where he got 50 in that Knicks game. I'm not really looking to play Miles Turner. Not really. We've touched on the guard situation many times. I'm not really looking to play a guard on the Houston side in this one with Chris Paul, simply because James Harden's back. I think James Harden eats up a ton of usage there, and James Harden had a very good game. I mean, he comes back against Chicago, 33 minutes, 25 points, 7 assists, only 40 fantasy points, so he doesn't pay out value-wise. But this is the one guy I'm looking to target tomorrow in this game because I think as he gets back in the fold here, his usage picks up. And then I do like Capella tomorrow at 8,200. I just think that this is a very thin front court, and I think Capella is really talented, and he's kind of a mismatch, and he can overpower Miles Turner, a Thaddeus Young, and he won't be playing too many minutes against Sabonis either. So it's a guy you can count on for 30-plus minutes, double-double upside, $8,200, really good play there.
Yeah, so on the Indiana side of things, I think you got to start with the obvious. Victor Oladipo going against James Harden. This guy has been playing very well in the season. He's been playing very well since last year. To me, the way I'm looking at Oladipo, it's like he's exactly 2,000 less than Harden. They're going to be going back and forth with each other. He can get just as many shots as Harden. So, I really like Oladipo in this matchup. I think that he can have a really good game. He's shown us this season that he definitely has upside. 2 games ago, 58 fantasy points. We know that, he does a little bit of everything. And he's a really good defender as well. James Harden tends to, try to do some fancy stuff sometimes, see him get a couple extra steals. So I obviously really like Oladipo. Then I'm going to look at power forward. I know Thaddeus Young hasn't had the best season, but that's why he's always low owned. He's still getting you right around 31, 32 minutes a game, and he fills up the stat sheet when he has good scoring nights. You see what happens, and he does have the 50 fantasy point upside, 30 to hit value. I think he's a good GPP play, and then I really like Sabonis in this spot. I go right back to the well. The thing about Sabonis is we know with him, if he gets minutes, he's going to put up points. And even when he doesn't get minutes, he still tears it up. And this is a perfect spot where I can see Miles Turner going against Capella, and Capella just dominates. Miles Turner gets an early foul trouble. We've seen him in the past get in foul trouble. Sabonis comes in, gets a couple extra minutes. So I like all three big guys for the Pacers. And then Miles Turner, 5.8. The guy's not even 6,000. I mean, 2 games ago, 40 fantasy points, so we know he has upside. He's averaging 27 fantasy points on the season, pretty much what he needs, on this 5.8 price tag. So I really like all three of the big guys, for Indiana in the up-tempo game. All three of those guys can really run, and then I like Oladipo. And I'm going to stay away from the point guard position, and then Bogdanovich, his minutes kind of been up and down, so I'm really going to stay away from that as well. And the only other guy that I would actually mention, I don't want to forget about GPP play, Tyreek Evans, 4.9. This guy has 50 fantasy point upside. We've seen that in the past years. It don't matter whatever team he plays on, he's a baller and he gets points. So I like Tyreek Evans as a GPP play, 4.9. And that's really where I'm at on the Indiana side. Sorry, I really like this game, to be honest. This is probably going to be one of the games that I'm really going to be targeting on this slate. I think this game, it's going to be, one of the higher over-under when it comes out. So yeah, I mean, you like this game as much as me, or am I kind of going overboard on this game?
Hey, bro, look, I'm going to put something out there real quick, right? So you and I know, but the viewers probably don't know, and the majority of our users and members, they probably don't know either. But we have legitimate programmers, right? Like our data guys, our IT guys, they're the shit, right? We know that. So we've got this cool tool that they're working on right now that we have access to that we're trying to get live for our members. And it takes a look at what teams have given up fantasy-wise to their previous opponents. So I'm looking at that tool right now, and you look at shooting guards. You mentioned Oladipo, $2,000 less than Harden in this game, right? So you take a look at just look at the last 4 or 5 games, shooting guards against Houston. Donovan Mitchell, 51.5. Avery Bradley, we can all agree the guy's not a fantasy point monster, right? He gets 19 fantasy points at his $3,600 price tag. CJ McCollum hasn't had a huge year, hasn't had those big games yet. He got 30. Karis LeVert, 47.8. And then Zach LaVine, maybe a little underwhelming. He only gets 33. But they're giving up a ton of fantasy points to the shooting guard position. So I am all over this game as well. I think this is a really good game to target. There's a lot of goodness in this game as far as Capella, Sabonis, Oladipo. There's 3 guys right there that you can plug into a lineup as maybe like a mini core in the early games. So, yeah, I do like this game a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a back-and-forth game for sure. Both teams play that way for sure. So we'll move on to the next game. The next game that we're going to talk about, it's a little bit of a boring game. We'll get this one out the way. You got Cleveland going into Orlando to face the Magic. This game has a 2 implied total, and Orlando's favored by 4 in this one.
I'm not really even looking to talk about this game, bro, to be honest with you. There's not a lot I want to talk about in this game. I mean, from the Cleveland side of it, I'll be honest with you. Sam Decker is the guy that I'll continue to roll out in tournaments only because of his upside and the minutes he's getting. He's playing consistently, at least 25 and as many as 35 minutes, depending on how the game flow goes. He's gotten as many as 37.8 fantasy points in the game at 4,200. I think he's an upside tournament play, a guy that you have if you're making 150 lineups, you put him in 10 to 15% of your lineups. Power forward position, we all know Kevin Love is out. I'm not looking to roll out Larry Nance. I don't know who the hell Billy Preston is. I'm definitely not playing Ante Zizic. And then the center position, I can make a case to play Tristan Thompson. I may have a little bit of exposure to him. His price is $4,900. I would probably really like him at 4,000 because at 4,000, I think he can get me 6x in a tournament against Vucevic. But at 4,900, I don't think that the upside is there tomorrow night to get overwhelming exposure to him. Outside of that, I'm not interested in the Cleveland side at all.
So, I mean, I'm just going to make it short and sweet. There's 3 guys that I like on the Orlando side of things. First thing first, I like Evan Fournier, 6,000. The guy's starting to really pick it up. We've seen this guy in past years. The guy is a really good player, and he fills up the stat sheet. We know that. He had a little bit of a rough start to start the season. Past 2 games, though, 33.6, 33.7 fantasy points, getting some steals, doing a little bit of everything, playing well. Now he's getting to go into a matchup against a young Cleveland team that turns the ball over a lot. Definitely think he'll get a couple steals. I like him in this spot. And then you can look, Aaron Gordon, price tags down a little bit. He's strictly GPP just because he's been so hit or miss. I mean, look at this dude, a 20 and then a 45, and then a 9.6 and a 38. So strictly GPP, but he does have some upside. And lastly, you got to look at the main man on their team, Nikola Vucevic, 9,000. I still like his price tag. Past 2 games, he's got at least 32 minutes. So I like that he's getting consistent minutes in the 30s. And, so that's really where I'm at. I'm just going to look at Fournier, look at maybe Gordon for GPP and Vucevic for GPP, and that's about it for me.
Moving on.
All right, man. So we'll move on to the next game that we're going to look at. It is going to be Chicago. Sorry about that. So it's going to be Chicago going into New York to face the Knicks. This game has a 216 implied total, and New York is favored by 3 at home.
Yeah, so Tim Hardaway left today's game with some sort of a back injury. I don't know if it's been released what the injury was. Suffered a back injury is all I've got news on. So he tweaked his back. He did come back. He played 24 minutes, but that's something to keep an eye on there. If Hardaway doesn't go, Damian Dotson becomes a really good play. Damian Dotson's getting a ton of minutes. He's playing, you just look at his last 5 games, really, maybe even 7 games, 31, 34, 29, 28, 31, 36, 30. So he's playing a ton of minutes. If Hardaway doesn't play, there's more shots for him. I'm not going to look to play this front court at all. As far as I can't even say the guy's name, Nicolina, I think it is, Frank Nicolina. Not really looking to play him. Small forward position, Hezonja, it's going to depend on Hardaway. If Hardaway is out, then Hezonja is an elite play for me tomorrow at 3,600. Had a monster game tonight. 32.1 fantasy points, almost goes 10x. So Hezonja will definitely be an elite play tomorrow at the small forward position without Hardaway. They still don't have Kevin Knox. Am I on the New York side? I'm on the New York side again, man. I just did it to you again.
Don't worry about it. You good.
So Kevin Knox is out for the Knicks. So, you got to look at Von Lay still, but Von Lay's price starting to get a little too expensive. And in the center position, I just wish that Enes Kanter would get more minutes, man. Only getting about 20 minutes a game. Tonight, he does get 24 minutes. He gets a double-double with 18 and 12, 31.4. And then Mitchell Robinson, 4,900. This is a guy who's got major upside, but he's a tournament play only right now just because he's way too inconsistent. I mean, you look at the minutes just over his last 4 games, 15, 17, 34, then only 26 tonight. So not really looking to target this game very much. Without Tim Hardaway, I think his zone is an elite, like I said, he's an elite punt, elite value play, however you want to look at it. And outside of that, that's really it for me.
So on the Chicago side of things, Zach LaVine. Really where I'm at. I will mention your boy, Wendell Carter. I know that you like that guy from the very beginning. This dude's been, he's a monster, bro. He's a monster. Look at his past 5, 32 fantasy, 35, a 59 burger, 35, 46. So he's playing very well. The dude's beasting out, bro, and he's taking care of business. The only problem is now the price is really starting to catch up now. 7.8. That's the only thing, you can maybe look at him, as a GPP play, a couple lineups with them just to kind of diversify yourself a little bit. But for me, just a little too expensive. And then the only other 2 guys really I'm going to look at is going to be Zach LaVine. Obviously, he's the number 1 guy. You target him, and then you can look at Justin Holiday as well. Holiday's playing a ton of minutes, 35, 36 minutes a game. And, if he's out there, we know minutes equal production, and he doesn't get the prettiest stat lines, but overall he is pretty consistent. He's averaging about 25 fantasy points a game. So I like Justin Holiday. So that's really where I'm at. I'm not going to look at Jabari Parker. The dude his price tag is 6.6, so you need, 32, 33 for him to hit value. He's just been way too inconsistent. Even, in 2 of the past 3 games, he got 35 and 40 minutes, and he only got you 15.8 and 14.6 fantasy points. Hey, I'm not digging it. So for me, both sides, I'm just taking the LaVine. Holiday maybe for a cheap guy, and then you can look strictly GPP due to the price tag of Wendell Carter. And that's really where I'm at, man.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. So actually, the game that we got now is the fun game, the game that everybody's going to be on. It's the New Orleans Pelicans going into OKC to face the Thunder. This game has a 238 implied total, and OKC's favored by 4.5 in this one.
So the biggest news is going to be Elfrid Payton, right? And I don't see anything that says he's in or out for tomorrow yet. So Elfrid Payton's the biggest news. And the reason he's the biggest news is because two reasons. What it opens up rotationally and then matchup wise. So Drew Holiday would automatically move to the point guard position. And that's big because that really opens Drew Holiday up for me. When you take a look at just the last 8 games Oklahoma City has played against a shooting guard position, they're only giving up 18.77 fantasy points. And they've held – Terrence Ferguson has held so many guys under their averages. You know, you take a look at Jeremy Lamb. He was one of the only guys that he was projected at. We had a projected at 25.54, and he got 29.8. But Bradley Beal has a dud. You know, Buddy Hield has a dud. Avery Bradley a dud. Klay Thompson only 16.8 fantasy points. So they're holding the shooting guard position down. So for me, it's Elfrid Payton is the biggest news. And then you can take a look at the Anthony Davis news. I really thought Anthony Davis was going to be playing. I didn't think that the Golden State game was that big of a deal, but he didn't play against Portland on the back-to-back. He did come back and play against the Spurs, 39 minutes in that one. They've got him listed as a game-time decision. I don't know what to expect with Anthony Davis. I was really believing the hype that he really wanted to come out and show out this year, be one of the top players in the league. But he kind of killed it for me when, you know, he missed the 2 games with the elbow injury. He plays 41 minutes against Golden State. The guy looked, you know, perfectly fine, and then he sits out the back-to-back against Portland. So, you know, exactly. I mean, so, you know, it's old Anthony Davis stuff, right? But I mean,
let me tell you, bro. Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt you, bro.
No, it's just it's old Anthony Davis stuff, right? So to me, you got to check the injury news. I still like Julius Randle either way. Julius Randle's just playing really well right now. He's playing at a really high level. He's got double-double upside. In 2 of his last 4 games, he scored at least 20 real points. He's had double-digit rebounds in 1 of those and almost double digits twice. He's getting block shots. He's getting steals. So, you know, I like Julius Randle regardless, and I like Mirotic regardless in this game. Mirotic is just playing at an elite level right now. He's only had 3 games this year where he hasn't gotten 40 fantasy points, and then 2 of those he had 34 and 32. So I think the price is right on Mirotic. That's the number 1 guy to target for me in this game, and then kind of see where the news falls as to where you go other places. Etuan Moore, worth mentioning as well. I know he's been kind of a staple in your cash game lineup, a few of these slates. 34.8 against Golden State. I think you had him that night. You know, he's a good – Etuan Moore's a good upside play, and in the pace-up game, like this will be a fast-paced game. So, you know, watch the injury news in this one and then kind of make a decision from there. But, you know, there's a lot going on with only 2 guys who are on the injury report. There's a lot riding on if Davis plays, if he doesn't play, and if Elfrid Payton plays, and if he doesn't play.
Yeah, so, I mean, honestly, this game really, it's if Anthony Davis plays or not. If he plays, it's going to, you know, be a really good competitive game. If he doesn't play, you know, it's probably going to end up a blowout. You know, it is what it is. That's just how we have to look at it. So, on the OKC.
Hey, bro, hey. I wouldn't say that, though, because it may end up like that as far as the score goes, but look at the Portland game, man. I mean, even the Golden State game, for 3 quarters, these dudes play and they keep the game close, and it's like the last 5 minutes of the 4th quarter is when it kind of gets away.
It's because they're tired.
They're tired. And for me, from a fantasy standpoint, like if those dudes don't play, it's like this game almost has more attraction to me than if they do play because of the value and the short rotation. You know what I mean? Like a Etuan Moore at 4,800. Drew Holiday becomes a little bit underpriced for the amount of usage he'll get. So I like this game either way, I think.
Yeah, so on the OKC side of things, I mean, obviously you got to start Russell Westbrook. The guy's 12,000. The thing about it is, so you look at it two ways with Westbrook. Okay, yes, he's going to give you a monster floor, and he's got you at least 50 in what
5 of
five
6, I believe.
games since he's been back. Yeah. So he's got you at least 50 in 5 of the 6 games. But at a 12,000 price tag, we need 60 really just for him to hit value. So yes, he's giving us a solid floor, but he hasn't shown us the upside yet this season on these prices. So that's something that we do got to think about. Now, if Davis is in the game, I feel the game will be really competitive. That's just my opinion on it. I want to see if Davis is in. If Davis is in, then I think I like Westbrook a little bit more, and he's due for that monster game. And I definitely think this could be this spot. They run. Okay, New Orleans, they run, and OKC run. So I really like Westbrook, especially if Davis is in. Schroeder, he's a guy that he's just too cheap right now, 5.5. I understand he's not getting the same opportunities he was when Westbrook was out. But the minutes are starting to creep back up right to the low 30s, and this guy's going to be in the game. They traded this for this guy. They're not going to have him on the bench. 5.5, great price tag for Schroeder. I think you could even play him in your cash games. In my opinion, I like to play a lot. Paul George, I mean, he's obviously a really good play on any night. The only thing about Paul George we really got to think about is the price tag's up 9.6. For him to hit value, we need about 48, and he's averaging 43 on the season, and he could definitely get there. The thing that scares me on this high price tag with George is Westbrook. He takes a lot away from George. And a lot of people say they don't, that they're more equal, but we both know that Westbrook takes a lot away compared to when he's not there from George. So you can still look at him as a GPP play. Power forward wise, Jeremiah Grant. I've been playing him, a lot this season, and I think you go right back to the well. You need 25 for him to hit value. He's averaging about 25 on the season, and he's just coming off a 41 fantasy point game. The guy has upside. He's shown us a couple times already this season and in the past. And then lastly, you look at the big hammer. I mean, that dude is like you run into him, bro. It's like running into a brick wall. Steven Adams, the dude, the beast. 7.2 for him to hit value. You're going to need about 35. He's averaging 35 on the season. He's just a garbage man that does all the dirty work for them. And I think that you can look at him. I think he gives you a solid floor. And you could possibly look at Nerlens Noel as a punt play. I mean, we know when this guy gets minutes, he takes care of business. Last game he got 16 minutes and some garbage time against Washington. Quick 24 fantasy points. That's an easy six, almost 7 times value on these prices. So I think you can look at him, and that's really where I'm at. If I missed anybody, definitely feel free to touch on them.
Nah, man, I think you hit it.
Yeah, hey, there's some good pieces on the Thunder side of things, though. Yeah, I didn't expect them to really come out and smash Washington the way they did. I had a lot of Washington. I had Bill and Wall that night. I was like, oh, yeah, it's going to be a super competitive game. And they just came out and just put it on them. I was like, man, come on. But yeah, for sure. So you ready to move on?
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to move on to the next game we got. It's going to be Boston. We got Boston going into Denver to face the Nuggets. This game has a 206.5 implied total, and Denver's favored by 2.5 in this one.
So of the 5 positions, the last 9 games, so the 9 games that the Denver's played, they've held every position except for center, which is it's plus 0.046, and point guard, which is plus 2. They've held every position. I'm sorry, shooting guard. They've held every position under what the expected fantasy output was, right? So you start looking at where you want to pick at, and first thing that tells me is Denver's really good defensively. Denver's probably a little underrated because in the past they've been a team that hasn't played a lot of defense. They've been, games you want to target because the over and under is high and there's not a lot of defense played in them. But this year they're really good defensively. So, Kyrie Irving is still at a very, very fair price at $7,700. And when I say fair, Kyrie Irving is at a price he can make value at. He can get you 49. He can get you, that 50-point game, which you need in tournaments. You need that 6X plus. So I will play Kyrie Irving in this one. I'll avoid the shooting guard position. I'm not going to look to play Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart. I'm not going to play Gordon Hayward. But I do think that you can possibly look at a Jason Tatum and a Marcus Morris in this one. And that's really it for me. I mean, I don't want to go on and on about guys I'm not going to play. There's really three guys that I'll look to play in this game to get exposure to. It'll be Tatum, it'll be Marcus Morris at 5,400, and then Kyrie Irving, because I think he has the upside in the game that's probably going to have a lot of points scored in it. And that's really it. You know, Denver's really solid defensively. It's a good basketball team, a tight rotation. They've got and then here, you know, the thing that doesn't get talked about a lot, Boston's not on a back-to-back, but there's a crazy stat about teams that go on the road to play at Denver and what their output is.
Right.
And then if you look at the back-to-back part of it, like teams that come out of back-to-back, they like never win, right? But you're going on the road for one, and then you're going into altitude too. So now they're a really good defensive team, and in the past they weren't, and teams could get away with not being used to the altitude because they weren't very good defensively. But now this is a team that's very good defensively, and you're going into altitude. So 3 spots: Tatum, Morris, and Kyrie Irving, and that's it for me.
Yeah, so on the Denver side of things, I mean, just like you're talking about Denver being a pretty good defensive team, obviously we know Boston's a pretty good defensive team as well. And so, I mean, there's a couple guys that you can look at. I mean, a guy like Jamal Murray, he's strictly GPP for me. We know that he does have some upside. We've seen it in the past. We've seen it a couple times this year already. He's going to be going back and forth with Kyrie Irving. Maybe he'll, step up to the challenge, knowing that's their best player and ball out. He does have that upside, but on a 7.3 price tag, I mean, we need about 36 value, and he's not getting that regular. So, like I said, strictly GPP. Same thing with Gary Harris. I mean, I like both of these guards. I just don't really like the guards in this spot going against Boston. Boston has some good defenders on the perimeter for sure. So the guards are really – I'm going to stay away from the guards, to be honest with you. But I do like the big men. First thing first, I like Paul Millsap. Power forward, 6,500, very, very good price tag for him. He hasn't had no monster games, but he's been very, very consistent. He's got you at least 27 fantasy points in 5 of his past 6 games, giving you a solid floor. And I think he's underpriced. This guy's due for a monster game. We see it a couple times every year where he gets a 50 burger, and I definitely think that this could be a spot. I mean, I like Jason Tatum, but if they're going to have Jason Tatum guard Paul Millsap is way too strong, way too big for Jason Tatum. I definitely think he'll bully him down low. And then lastly, I mean, it's been a theme. It's been something that me and you both have been doing all year so far, is we are taking centers against Boston. Nothing against Al Horford. Al Horford's a solid player, and we always talk about Al Horford being a solid player. I've played Al Horford a couple of times in cash this season. But centers always go wild against Boston. It is what it is. Jokic, 9.5 in a game that I expect to be very close. And I mean, this guy, look at this dude. Bro, last game against Utah, bro, this is ridiculous. I just seen this right now. He only scored 7 points, right? He's a center, but he has 7 points, 10 rebounds, and 16 assists, bro. The dude had 16 assists. He could get a triple-double any night. I really like Jokic in the spot. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to say I'm going to play him in cash, but he's a great, great, great tournament play, and I definitely think he also is borderline cash. I love Jokic in this spot a lot. And then, I mean, you can consider like Trey Lyles. I mean, he's or even a Mason Plumlee. Both of those guys off the bench. If you feel the game is going to get out of hand one way or the other. But with those guys, they do well when they get minutes. But in a close game is what we're projecting. I don't think that they're necessarily going to get the minutes that we need for that production. So for me, my favorite 2 plays from the Denver side of things is going to be Paul Millsap and it's going to be Jokic.
Yeah, man. And one thing that I want to note here is Jokic is a $10,000 plus player. He's at 9,500. This is a buy low opportunity. I really believe on Jokic. Like you said, 16 assists and 10 rebounds. And that was basically the bulk of his fantasy points, which was 42 in that Utah game. And then when you start looking at Boston, I mean, they've played a couple of real centers this year. Joel Embiid, 42 fantasy points. Enes Kanter, 41 fantasy points. Vucevic, 48.9. Steven Adams had kind of an underwhelming game in that. And then they've played Drummond twice. But outside, those guys have all gotten 40-plus fantasy points against Boston. Miles Turner, Brook Lopez, Serge Ibaka, as good of a power forward as he is, and he's kind of flourished a little bit in that center position. He's not a real center. but actual real centers have killed Boston.
Yeah, no, for sure. You ready to move on?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next game we're going to move on to, it's going to be Toronto going into Utah. And this is one of those other games that we talked about. We don't have a Vegas line or over under yet. So I mean, we're obviously waiting on a couple of injury news. Obviously, we know that Donovan Mitchell is out now. One thing I quickly. Actually, I'll let you get into it, and then I'll talk about it in the end. So just get us started with that Toronto side, please.
Kyle Lowry with a monster night tonight, man. A monster night. 58.7 fantasy points. The real beneficiary of Kawhi Leonard not playing. Not a rest night off for Kawhi Leonard. He's got the jammed ankle. So we'll have to wait and see what the news is around Kawhi Leonard as tomorrow approaches. I don't see anything as far as a timetable. And I know when you look in Fanduel right now, it doesn't say that he's a game time decision or he's out. It's just because there's no news on it. But he didn't get today off because of rest. Siakam continues to be an extremely good play. No Kawhi tonight. Siakam gets 37.1, 16 points, 13 rebounds. This game actually tonight, man, cost me some cash because I loaded up on this game. And when I say this game, I mean the Laker and Toronto game. And we had some friends over for dinner, and I looked at my phone. There was like 2 minutes left in the first quarter, and it was 38-10. Lakers just got dented in, man. They just got the brakes beat off of them pretty much the entire game.
I didn't play no basketball there. I didn't even watch none or nothing. So I'm not.
I max entered the 4 p.m. slate just because I'm a fantasy junkie, I guess. But so Kyle Lowry, watch the news here. Look, I know we're early in the year, but clearly Kawhi Leonard is a better fit with Toronto than DeMar DeRozan was. DeMar DeRozan really took a lot of shots. Him and Kyle Lowry kind of played the same. And Kawhi Leonard's a selfless basketball player. He likes to defend more than he likes to score. And now the offense truly moves through Lowry. So, that's where you start this. Valanciunas' price starting to get up there a little bit, at 6,100. I don't know if he can get you the 6 or 7x you need in the tournament. So that kind of rules out. The only two guys, there's really three. Ibaka's price is starting to climb a little bit. He's at 6,500. And he had 54 tonight against the Lakers, just went absolutely nuts, 34 points, 10 rebounds. But the Lakers don't play bigs well. We know that. The Lakers don't play bigs well. JaVale McGee's not, as good of a fantasy player as he's been so far. He's not a real good, real life center. So, three guys for me in this one: Ibaka, Lowry, and Siakam. Those are the three guys you can play, and then wait and see on Kawhi. Wait and see on Kawhi. If Kawhi's out, I really, I'll load up on Lowry. And then one thing to note here is that they are on a back-to-back. So, as much as Serge Ibaka went off tonight, he's going to go against a true center in this one, and Rudy Gobert.
Gobert's going to eat him alive, bro. If he
Gobert will eat him up, and that would open up some more opportunities for Siakam. So that's really it for me. You got to really wait on the Kawhi news and see what's going on there.
Yeah, so I'm going to be real quick. Quick rant, bro. Quick rant. My apologies. Man, Friday night, okay, we get the news. Donovan Mitchell's out. We get the news his backup is out, right? So we're like, oh, yes, value like crazy's opening up. Utah only has a couple guys. Play Dante Exum in our lineup. We go to Royce O'Neal. He was 65, almost 70% owned. Played him in our lineup. How did both of these dudes, one ended up with like 7, the other one ended up with like 12? You know what I mean? Hey, I have customers hitting me with hey, man, what were you thinking putting those guys in? And I'm like, bro, the spot was beautiful. They had nobody. And these dudes literally both got an uptake in minutes and did nothing, absolutely nothing. So
Royce O'Neal played 21 minutes. Royce O'Neal played 21 minutes at 3,500. That's elite opportunity. That's a great pump play.
Yeah, I know, but it's tough. So, like I said, with Royce O'Neal, I think you could go back to the well. For me, I'm just staying away from it. I'm not dealing with it. There's two guys that I'm liking a lot, and there's going to be both small forwards. You got Joe Ingles. Joe Ingles is a guy we know can score the ball. He does a little bit of everything, fills up the stat sheet. Without Donovan Mitchell, they're going to need some extra scoring. And I think that this is solid spot for Joe Ingles. I don't think that he's gonna have to be battling against Kawhi. I don't think Kawhi's gonna be in there tomorrow. And like you said, Toronto on a back-to-back. I think that Utah kind of has a little upper advantage. They're gonna come out fresh, ready to ball. So I really like Ingles, and then I like my boy Jay Crowder. The dude last game played 31 minutes, got you 38 fantasy points at a 5.4 price tag. I mean, that's what 7x right there. Yeah, 7x, almost 8x. That's great on this price tag. The minutes have definitely been in there. He's played, he's averaged about 32 minutes recently. And the guy just does a little bit of everything. Fills up the stat sheet, gets some defensive stats. And one thing I do want to note, he scored at least 15 actual points in 4 straight games. So the guy's shooting the ball well. They're going to need some scoring with no Mitchell. I really like Crowder. I really like Ingles. I'm not going to look at Derek Favors. The guy's having a knee problem. He's not getting the minutes that I really want. And then you look at Gobert. Gobert, obviously, like we talked about, Ibaka's not a real center. And, I think he could definitely have a field day. But one thing I will note is I am going to be cautious, and I'm probably not going to go with Rudy Gobert. I mean, 9,000, the price tag's up there. I mean, you need 45 for him to hit value. 50 just to get you some upside on this price. So for me, he's a GPP play. But one thing about Toronto, say if he is eating up, Ibaka, they can go with Valanciunas, and Valanciunas is a pretty good big guy that could come in and compete with Gobert. So Gobert's GPP for me, the main 2 guys I'm going to look at are going to be Joe Ingles, Jay Crowder, and then lastly, and this guy's probably my favorite play, it's going to be Ricky Rubio. They don't have no other guards. He's going to have to play a ton of minutes. We know that. He's played at least 31 in 3 of the past 4 games. And Ricky Rubio does a little bit of everything. We know that he gets a ton of steals. He gets average, like I think a 1.5 steals a game or something. They're gonna need some scoring. He's gonna have to shoot the ball a little bit more with no Mitchell as well. So Ricky Rubio is probably gonna be my favorite play on the Jazz side of things. And that's really where I'm at with Utah. If I miss anything, then feel free to chime in.
Move on, man. Moving on.
For sure. So we got the next game. Actually, I'm going to save that game for last, and I'm going to go real quick. We're going to go to Minnesota, going into Los Angeles to face the Clippers. This game is our 3rd game that we didn't have an over and under or a Vegas line yet. But, yeah, definitely get us started with the Minnesota side of things.
So tonight, I believe, and I don't know for sure because I didn't look and I didn't play him. But I think tonight was the first night that people got burned by a player, and that's Derrick Rose. It comes out probably 2 hours before lock that Derrick Rose is now probable for this one, and then he ends up getting ruled out, and I think he got ruled out after lock.
Yeah, I seen that. Like I said, I didn't play today, so I didn't have I was like, oh, whatever. But I did see that though, and I seen people on Twitter were hella pissed.
And I think the thing that happened too was it drove the ownership and Tyus Jones down. Tyus Jones didn't have a good night, but Tyus Jones would have been really chalky if both Teague and Rose were ruled out, and especially after what Tyus Jones did against the Warriors where, he had 33.5 fantasy points. He would have been really chalky tonight, and I think the probable news on Rose really kind of screwed the ownership on Tyus Jones. It is what it is. So you've got both point guards you need to look at, Jeff Teague and Derrick Rose. Both were out today, obviously. Teague misses his 3rd straight game with a knee injury. Derrick Rose has the ankle injury that he injured against the Warriors. And then, he goes from being probable to being out. So I don't know what's going on with that. I don't think it's a safe situation if they're going to screw people over the way they did today with saying he's probable and then he ends up not going at all. So Tyus Jones could be a value play, but you've got to watch the injury. He's in the mid-tier range now. He's crossed the $4,900 threshold. Jimmy Butler should be back. He did not play today, ruled out for rest reasons on the on the front half of the back-to-back. So you've got to like Butler going against the Clippers. The guy that I'm going to tell you, and I don't have it in front of me. I'll pull it up and when I do my full research here, but Andrew Wiggins kills the Clippers. He's killed the Clippers for a very long time. He does very well when he plays either LA team. He likes to play these LA teams. He's been very good in his last 3 games, 34.7, 38, 34.8, and then 27.7 tonight. But tonight, obviously, no Jimmy Butler. Wiggins is a guy that at 6,600, I'm looking to play tomorrow. He's always – this is just me from memory, me from watching a lot of basketball, and me from recognizing that Andrew Wiggins kills the Clippers. So that's a guy to look out for. And then you have to look at Karl Anthony Towns. I think he's still a buy low opportunity at 9,400. Boban Marjanovic is $5,400. This guy's never been a starting center in the league. He's like always the fantasy point per minute monster. He's the value play everybody wants to play. When going back to Andre Drummond would be ruled out, you wanted to lock in Boban at 3,500 because you knew he was going to get you 25 or 30 points in a starting role. I'm not looking to really play Boban at 5,400 against Towns. I might actually. I have to think about that a little bit, but Towns is definitely in play tomorrow at 9,400. I think it's a buy low opportunity. And Taj Gibson, $4,700 now. This guy just continues to be Taj Gibson, 27 points tonight. He's going to get you that 20 to 32, 33 fantasy points at a 47, 48, $4,900 price point. So he's a guy that I like tomorrow night as well. Harrell is a very undersized. He's a power forward. He's an undersized center, and I know he's rotationally. That's where they've got him playing when they go small. As Harrell plays the center. So, watch the injury news. Both guards look like they're going to be out possibly tomorrow. Tyus Jones at value, and then Jimmy Butler is playable on any given slate. But Andrew Wiggins is the guy I'm looking to play, and then Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, real quick, we had a question in chat. So Celeste said, "What about?"
I'm sorry, I didn't even. I should have got to. I should have got to him. I played Okogie tonight. Okogie's been a solid fill-in here. He gets more shots when Butler's out because that's where he seems to fit in at. Butler out tonight, bad shooting night, 29 minutes, 6 points, 3 rebounds, and assists, only 11.1 fantasy points. I think he's a phenomenal tournament play tomorrow. If both the guards are out, he'll still get run, and people will fade him because of he burned people tonight in an obvious spot.
Yeah, so on the Clipper side of things, to me, I'm looking at it, it looks like a hot mess is what it looks like. Straight up, that's what it looks like to me. I'm not going to play Patrick Beverly or Gilgeous Alexander. They're pretty much just in a timeshare. Lou Williams is a guy you can look at. The price tag starting to come up a little bit, but he's still under 6,000. He's shooting good right now. That's what you got to say. But the problem is with Lou Williams is he's strictly a scorer, and if he doesn't score, he's not going to get you nothing. And last year, Doc Rivers would always play him, 30-plus minutes. And this year, he just hasn't hit the 30 mark. He hasn't played 30-plus minutes in one game. So, he's strictly just a scorer off the bench at this point. Doc's not giving him the big-time minutes that we want to see from him. So, strictly GPP play is Lou Williams. Gallinari is a little bit too expensive for me. And then at the power forward spots, Tobias Harris is a guy that I think he's probably the best play on this team. But even him, I'm looking at his minutes, and his minutes have been somewhat up and down. The production has been pretty consistent, but 26 minutes, 33, 32, 29, 26. Like, if I'm going to pay 7.7 for somebody, I want them to be playing 33, 34 minutes a game no matter what. And, Harrell's been eating into his minutes a little bit, and Harrell's a guy that – we were playing earlier in the season, and we liked him, but now the price tag is even starting to get up for him. How are we going to pay, 5.7 and need about 28, 29 from a guy that some nights he will get the minutes, but some nights he'll only get, 10 minutes. And that's the thing that's scary with Harrell. I definitely think Harrell's still in a spot where you can use him for GPPs. The price is not too far up for a GPP play. And then lastly, you touched on him, Bogdanovic. I played him the other day, and it actually messed me up a little bit because the news came out for him, and I tried to scramble around, and I got it like 9 minutes before lock or something, and I was trying to scramble, and I knew he was a must-play the other night, and he didn't even do nothing special. But, hey, he still got 6, 7X on the price tag, so the price tag jumped, almost 2,000. So it's like, Do I really want to play him going against Karl Anthony Towns? I think Towns is too fast for him. So maybe throw him in a couple of GPP lines, but I'm not really gonna mess with them tomorrow with the real big price jump on him. And that's really where I'm at with the Clippers.
That's it.
That's it. All right, man. So we go to the last game. Should be a pretty good game. We got where's it at? Okay, yeah. So you got Memphis Grizzlies going into Golden State to face the Warriors. This game has a 220 implied total, and Vegas is guessing this game is going to be a blowout. Golden State's favored by 14 in this game.
So I did my research today. I put my lineups in, and then I didn't get it. Like I said, we had some friends over for dinner, so I didn't watch any basketball tonight. I just kept the Patriots game on. And I'm looking before we do this video because, Mike Conley is a guy that I'm thinking, $7,800 a day. Golden State's given up, I think they're +6 as far as expected fantasy points to real fantasy points on the season to point guards. And I'm thinking, man, Mike Conley's had some really good games against Golden State. I like Conley in this spot. See, his price goes up 200 to 8,000. And I'm like, man, what do he do tonight? So I would pop his player card open and see they lost 102-100, and he only played 26 minutes. I don't understand what's going on there. He had played 35 and 32 the previous 2 games, and then in a game they lose, I see 26 minutes right away. I'm thinking, oh, they just blew him out. And then I go check the scores, like, they lost. What the hell's going on? So, at first I'm a little fishy about Mike Conley, and then I'm thinking, okay, he's had the knee injuries, he's had the leg injuries. Maybe they just held him his minutes down the night because of the fact they got a back-to-back going against Golden State. So Conley's a guy I want to play tomorrow. I just need to find out I need some whys. I want to play Mike Conley tomorrow. I need something to back it up. But that's the first person is Mike Conley. Jaren Jackson Jr., the guy started off the season really well. He was undervalued, had a couple of really nice games, and he's kind of been underwhelming in his last 5 games, really. 4 games, 14-9, 7-1, 18-7, and 13-6. It just hasn't been there. I don't think I want to play him tomorrow going against a Draymond block. We all know that. Marc Gasol is a guy you can look at playing at 8,600. But I think there's better spots to play at center tomorrow than Gasol against the Warriors in an up-tempo game. A real big, sluggish guy like Gasol, they'd have to grind this down a bit. And Draymond, like I said again, really good rebounders in there. So I'm not real interested in this Memphis side. Garrett Temple, I get it. The guy's played well in a few games this year. His price is low. He looks like a really good value play with upside, but you need more than 20 points. That's going to be 4,500. So tomorrow night, I'm not sure that's a spot. I think that this is really I'll look for reasons to see if I can play Conley because of his previous history. But outside of that, Memphis is not a team I'm going to target tomorrow very much.
Yeah, so on the worst side of things, it's the same old thing. Starting to sound like a little bit of a broken record, but obviously you look at the big 4. You got Curry, you got Durant, both the exact same price at 10-7, and we just had this exact same situation the other night. And guess what? Both of them pretty much got their value. You got Curry on a 10-7, he got you 51. Durant on his 10-7 the other night, he got you 52. So they're both going to always get you close to value. It is what it is. I don't know what else you want me to say about Curry and about Durant. They get theirs. A guy that's really interesting to me is Klay Thompson, 6.4. I just think that the guy's just too cheap. I think it's too cheap. It is what it is. And he's playing a ton of minutes. The past 2 games, 37, 36, 35, 33, a couple of games before that. He's getting his minutes. And 6.4 is a very fair price tag. So I really like Klay. I think he's probably my favorite play if I want to consider like a cash game play, I would guess. I just don't know if I want to pay up for the other 2 guys. And then you can look at Draymond. Draymond, 8.3, very fair price tag for Draymond. He's been filling up the stat sheet close to a triple-double the past, 2 or 3 nights in a row. Giving you a solid floor right now. So I like Draymond. The problem with this is I definitely think this game really could get out of hand quickly. And so, that puts a guy like Alfonso McKinney in play. This guy, in 2 of the past 3 games, he's got 26 and 27 minutes. He's got you 35, and last game it wasn't special; it was only 18. But on a 3.7 price tag, I mean, that's pretty much value. So I think he's a really good punt play that you can get in one of the late games to kind of get you that late hammer with some upside, especially if we think it's going to be a blowout. And that's it, man. That's all I really got. It's pretty much just the four all-stars, and you can look at McKinney. I just don't know if the Warriors are going to be the people I want to pay up tomorrow. Well, we got a couple other really good games. We talked about the New Orleans Pelicans and the OKC. We talked about Houston and Indiana. There's some really good spots tomorrow, so I just don't know if this is a spot I want to pay up for. But all of them are always going to be in GPP consideration.
I will just say this. I don't think Klay Thompson is too cheap. If you look at his output over the past 3 seasons, he's a 25 to 35 consistent fantasy point player per $100. He's the one guy you can play in all formats that gives you a solid floor at this price and solid upside. He has 50-point upside. He has 60-point upside. We've seen that. But game in and game out, this is the one warrior you can continue to safely play and know he's going to get you at least 20 fantasy points. You can plug him in. He's not going to bust your lineup. He's going to get you 6. He's going to get you Klay. Yeah, I don't think he's too cheap. I think he's very fair price. He's a 25 to 35 average guy. That's what consistent. That's what he gives you. If he starts getting to 7,000, that's when you can't really play him. But I think he's safe in all formats. He's the safest one out of the 3 to get you the value you need in either cash or GPP with all the upside.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's about it. That's all I got on this slate. You got anything else to say about this slate?
No. You watch the injury news tomorrow. This is really our first slate where there's a ton of injuries and there's a lot of news that you've got to watch throughout the day.
Right. And one last thing I want to say, hey man, if you guys haven't checked out our site at dfscheatsheet.com, seriously, you see all of our results, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at RotoBeast. The optimizer's been going absolute crazy. Like I said, a member used the optimizer today on NFL and 146 out of 150 lineups cashed. Yes, the optimizer been going nuts. Last week on our Fanduel and Draftkings cash lineups, we cashed 5 of 6 days. We play Monday through Saturday. NBA, we cashed 5 of the 6 days. Things have been going very well. Stop missing out. Join the money team. I'll be back tomorrow with my NBA core plays. Jeremy will be back with his NBA GPP core plays on the DFS Cheat Sheet YouTube channel. Make sure to go and follow that. Make sure and click the like button on this video. I appreciate it very much. And we'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.